Okay, this is Colt from Spit and Tex Upholstery back again for another video on this seat. We just assembled one panel, okay? Number one and number two, we sewed those together, all right? And I showed you how to adjust, all right, when you're making it just a little bit bigger. Okay, witness marks are your friends and you want to follow them exact, but sometimes you'll have to deviate because of a bigger pattern, okay? Because of taxing on the seat on this man's boat. It was tearing out in certain areas. So we have to adapt, right? Okay, why is it tearing out? It's too tight, okay? The anchor's too tight. So we'll make the pattern a little bit bigger on that one piece, okay? And then don't tighten the anchor down so much in that area. Things like that. So now, this is a stratagem that I use to teach people that aren't used to, like when you're making a pillow and it's loose fabric and you have a welt cord that goes around the edge of the pillow, the rope, okay? If you look up there real quick, up there, the roll, that is welt cord, okay? And there's several different sizes. So, thank you. My beautiful wife, assistant.
Thank you.
I gotta be careful how I talk or I'm out of here. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, look. You have two pieces together like this, all right? You sew them together. There they are right there. So, around that entire perimeter goes this, okay? This is welt or piping. So, look, we've already sewn our new piping. It's ready to go, okay? And this lays on the good side, you know, with the sew allowance out all the way around. So if you're not comfortable with taking the original pattern out here and sewing it at the same time as you sew the piping, which most people aren't until you have sewn for a while, don't beat yourself up. There's a way to do it. You're just sewing it twice. I've had people go, why are you sewing that twice? Well, because you're a journeyman and this person I'm trying to teach isn't. And, you know, we all got to start somewhere. It's not a big deal. And it's not taxing or hurting anything. You're sewing the sew allowance short. Instead of a 1/2 inch, you're sewing it 1/8 just to get it on the perimeter. Okay, and what we're doing with that is this. We just sewn those two. There they are right there. They're together, okay? Perfect 1/2 inch sew allowance. All the margins match up to where they can, they dive down. That's why they're short there. But anyway, this has to go all the way around here. Okay? You know, with a sleeve, of course. So what you do is you sew that on first. But like I said, sew it short. Sew it short. This is one of the best videos you'll ever get when you're doing this, because you're just like, okay, you got your two pieces you just did, for instance, in this case, and you have your welt cord that's all finished, ready to go, okay? This cord is sewn into the same color fabric that you're doing. You sew that on first, short, and then you take this piece that goes all the way around and finishes this cushion, and you sew it casually. Just you scooch it up in there. You make sure you got a zipper foot on. Zoom in on that bottom foot on that sewing machine. That's a zipper foot. Okay, you have a left and a right. That's on you, whatever you're doing. So that's what we're doing here. This lesson is for those that aren't comfortable wielding all of that material at one time. And it takes a minute to get there. Don't beat yourself up. Put it on shallow. And then come back with the other piece. Scooch it up. Make sure your table's clean. Make sure your hands are clean. Everything's clean. When you're doing white work, there's no quarter. I mean, any little thing you touch is gonna... it could go bad real quick. All right, so, you know, I mean, do you love me yet? This is real-time stuff. I mean, what you're going to really run into. And we're not done yet. So anyway, shortcut. Sew the two pieces together. Sew your welt cord onto the two pieces. Take your last piece that's going to finish the entire piece and sew that on casually. Because you know that the welt cord's already stationed. You're not going to be scooching and going out of your margins. And, you know, you've got 5/8 on this end and you got a 1/4 inch over here because you can't hold all these three pieces together. Sew this on first. Okay? Sew that on first. This is the bottom side, of course. But sew that on first. So what I'm going to show you real quick is how to do that. I'm trying to make these videos quick so you guys stick with me. But everybody wants to show you how to do it perfect, you know, or which I don't get. I'm going to show you what you're really going to run into. And you're going to freak out. Like there's 14 pieces over there on that other seat. If you don't mark them right and do what I tell you, you're going to be like, oh my God, where am I at? Oh, no, no, no. You're going to panic. Ain't no reason for that. And again, I remember saying, if you do that, stop and think back and go, what am I doing? I'm doing a seat. It's a boat seat. You know what I mean? Take a breath. It's a seat. You can figure it out. Just pay attention to detail. All right, see that? Don't worry about those wiggles. All that pulls out just fine. And you can relieve those if it makes you feel any better. I always do it later, but you can come back and you can go little snip, little snip, little snip, you know what I mean? So on and so forth on those inside curves, little snip, little snip. And that helps it splay out. And it helps it lay on top of the foam when you go to upholster it. I'll come back and do that later. But for now, remember where we're at? The lesson is, if you cannot wield this other piece that goes around the edge of this perimeter with your pre-made piping welt cord, I call it welt cord. You see this? It goes like this. All right. And another thing, which is part of the lesson, believe it or not, I just forgot. What you do is, what's a 1/2 inch? 1/2 inch is industry standard. We're going to bring this up to a 1/2 inch. If I can get the damn thing to work. Okay, there we go. So like, you know, a lot of people don't know what a 1/2 of an inch is or an 1/8 of an inch. You know, practice your rules of measure. You know, sit down and get a table and know what a 1/16 is, an 11/16, an 1/8, a 1/4, a 1/2, 5/8, and so on and so forth. But our main encounter in the upholstery industry is 1/2 of an inch. So I made this from the outside to the inside. What's a 1/2 inch? No, that's not how you do it. You come from here, from the sew allowance to the inside. That is a 1/2 of an inch. So right there, that's an 1/8 heavy. Practice these measurements over and over and over. So what I do is I go like this. I've done it long enough to where I can just eyeball a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch from that sew allowance, or from that stitch count, excuse me. And if you ever make videos, it's not easy. You stammer and stutter, but even if you know what you're doing, which I do, videos are weird. But you know how many things I've learned off YouTube? I mean, YouTube's awesome. Think about it. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you can't YouTube. I mean, come on. Back when I grew up, there was phone books. You know, a quarter in the phone booth. You know, and finding people. There was none of this Google Maps stuff. Oh my God. You had to know how to read a map. But anyway, so we're doing the 1/2 inch from the stitch count. And just kind of keep it consistent. This doesn't have to be perfect. This is just going to make it easier for you when you go to do this, because you know, I'll show you in a second. Look at that. That actually looks pretty good. Okay. So what we do is, so the lesson, there's 2 lessons here. You make this, I make this 2 3/4 inches, okay? I fold it over my piping. So I take a piece, a ribbon, and I cut it out at 2 3/4. And then if I have to adjust it, which I normally always do, it's just, I know I have enough always, okay? You don't want to cut it too short and waste your fabric. Try to never waste fabric or vinyl or whatever you're using, because it's money. If you're doing this, you're doing it for money. And if you love it, then you're winning even more. So that is the perfect prepped welt cord. So it's always left to right. So what do we have? Okay. And before you ever cut your threads, always make sure you give them a tug. Little tug. And then cut them on each side. Take your time when you're doing upholstery. Your customer deserves it. It's your name. You're an artist or you are not. Do this right. Take your time. This is awesome stuff, man. Ain't a lot of boys can boast such, or women can boast such a claim as to be able to do this. It's monotonous, it's tedious, and you love it or you don't. Okay, so on this seat actually contoured. It kind of, from the back here, it comes around and kind of dimples in. So that's what this is. You see that 1/8 of an inch? So when you have that, all you do is you grab that 1/8 of an inch and you just sliver it up about 2 inches. Now look at that. See that? That's perfect. So now what we do is we'll come over here and we'll finish that allowance. But we'll come from the back. All right, you're good. You have to, oh, we ran out. We ran out of thread. And so, well, no, we didn't. So that's another thing that'll happen. Sometimes if your bobbin winder isn't set correctly, it will wind heavy on a left or wind heavy on a right, okay? And if the tension isn't set right, it'll wind too tight and roll on itself to where you don't have a smooth transition from the bottom to the top. And that's what happened there. See how fat it is on the right instead of the left? See, that should just fall. Now it's falling. See that? See? I know a couple things. But I hate to waste thread, so it's behaving now. So I always come over the mountain towards you, okay? Over the mountain. Make sure your scarf's clean. Over the mountain. Slap her in. Bring her back over the top of the mountain. Bring her down under the valley. Give her a slight pull. She's good. Cut it off at about 8. Layer over. Okay? Layer over in front of you. Bring her underneath. Now listen. Hear that snap? She's good to go. Close your gate, knee foot up, grab your wheel, down and up, give it a wiggle and a pull. Grab your scissors, come underneath. See that loop? See that loop? Bam. You've just threaded your machine. It's the way it is, the way it'll always be. This machine or any other one. No different. Forward, drop your knee foot, let it go, and get your get to work. So, we'll come back and finish what we were starting when we ran out. The tension grabbed me. So, this, bam, forward, back tack, drive it straight up, wiggle, knee foot, tug, snip. Same with that. Tug, snip, always tug, snip, always tug, snip, always tug, snip. They're machines, okay? They're machines. Over and under, over and under, over and under, and they end in a half knot. Pull them suckers. Sometimes if you have to, tie another knot, cut it short. That's it. You have to do these things. You don't want that coming undone when you got a $1,000 seat and one little corner is coming unraveled. Tug and knot. If you have to knot. Or tug, back tack and then tug before you cut. Yeah. So here we are. We're over here. We've cleaned our tables and get into the habit with white work, laying it in on itself. When you're working, there's no reason for your stuff to be out in the wind. Lay it in on itself. Good side to good side, bad side on the deck. I'm in a garage. I opened that stove 3, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times in about a 4-hour period. And we get those dusts. Try to keep your stuff clean, keep your hands clean. Again and again, I'm beating a dead horse. These are things you're gonna wanna do. So, now, I always make them long, and I always make them at least 2 inches too long. Okay? So, this is the field. This is the field. This is the seat that you see when you walk up to it. Well, piping, welt cord, the round part goes into the field, okay? So let's take that, go into the field. Look, imagine that. We have a 1/2 inch already ready because it has been cut prior. Let's come up here. We'll line it up to the top. Make sure that our threads are behind us to where we don't come up short. Make sure our needle is planted. All right, we're good to go. We come right up to the edge. We come over there. Drop our zipper foot. Forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, back. Catch that? Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 pop. Forward, back. You locked it in. 1/2 inch. I like to take it a little 1/16 over the edge of the boat. Two fingers. See how I put them there? As you're sewing, you're pushing in to the outside of that zipper foot, okay? Or you can just drag a finger like this, okay? And being mindful of this. Are you with me? That's the perimeter of what you're doing. Be advised. Do not drop that ball, okay? You're pushing while you're guiding. Pushing while you're guiding. See? Now this finger here, see how it kind of dives out? Remember I told you it dipped in? Remember, that's why I cut that little piece off? It kind of dipped in. That's what the seat looks like. because of the wall, the gunnels of the boat. It's all symbiont. So, and as you're going, always remember, where is your sew allowance? See my sew allowance? It's facing towards me. Therefore, all of the other sew allowances on this particular merger of these two individual pieces must go the same way. This side has to come in. You see the sew allowance? It's not going to go back up, because if it did, look how it would lay. You're going to see that on the reveal. Follow? All right. So, back at what we're doing. We're gonna push and guide these three fingers. Now come back here and look down on me while I do this. See how that dives in and then kind of comes out? So I'm going to use this finger to make sure it pushes up close so it hides the stitch. And I'm going to use this finger so it pushes out, or you can go like this. Which I would recommend doing. There's two different ways. You're comfortable at doing it. I like to come back later before I upholster it, once the hide's done, and cut all of my sew allowances on those swoops. So anyway, here we go. You see how that splays out? Look at that. Almost effortless. And over here, this is key too. How this is sitting. Where is your fabric over here? Is it going to bunch up? And is it going to affect the lay of what you are sewing? Be mindful of everything around you when you're doing this. What's on you? What's behind you? Is there something under your seat? Is it going to hinder you from moving back in your chair? Is there debris on the floor? You know what I mean? Everything. Look at everything before you ever start, and be calm and be happy. You're an artist. There ain't no painter goes and has an easel that's cockeyed, okay? There ain't no welder that doesn't put the ground on the table before he starts welding. All of this stuff. Okay, here we go. I'll shut my hole and see what we can do. Okay, everything's flat to my left. I'm pushing, and I'm turning with the contour of the fabric. See that stitch count there? I'm gonna bind that up. I'm gonna push that up. I'm going to lay that down. See how that dives in? Now, if you have to, you can come over here and you can cut yourself a relief. See that relief? What does that do? That changes things. That changes the reveal. Okay? Now make sure that edge follows that pattern. Now you see that? That's good. That's good. And our sew allowance is down. Now when I'm rocking on big fields like this, I'll use my three fingers. You'll get to know how to work these almost like a trumpet. As long as you're paying attention to this margin. Okay, now you see how we're coming down here? You look back, always look back in the field. How are we looking back here? How are we looking back here? See that? Look at that. That looks good. That's going to lay down nice. And what do we have? Our 1/2 inch sew allowance is facing down. Okay? So, what do we have here? This video is almost over. I'm just showing you another contour. You can get the gist of it. Thank you for your patience. Look. See how we come around there? That's what you're looking for. But it ain't going to lay like that. It ain't going to cooperate with you. So, you come down to the witness mark. Give it a little snip. Then give it a wide snip, but not too wide. See that? That's the fulcrum. That's the fulcrum. You got me? That's the fulcrum. Now, you come back and give little baby snips on the edge of the fulcrum. And where you stopped, you have to come back up into that neck. So everything has to lay right. And it's a relief. It's a relief. This is frigid, sturdy stuff. Now look what we just did. We came down. We caught our fulcrum. Now we're coming around, but we still need to get rid of that dimple. We need a drag. And on these, I drag them like this towards me. Because everything is left and right. There is no left-handed sewing machines, you know what I mean? So you see how that comes down? Look at that fulcrum. Look at that splay. Now let's see if we can make some medicine. And sometimes if you don't like it, if it's dimping up too much, give it a little more. Just don't cut that welt. So look, we gave it a little more. Now look at that. See how that relaxed? And while the needle's planted, always make sure your needle is in your material before you start doing any of this or any of this. Okay? Then you're ground zero. Okay? You have an LZ. You're good to go. So now watch. Come forward, and then up and look. You're looking at a 1/2 inch sew allowance. It doesn't change even though it's on a contour. So you want to make sure everything's flat again. Even if it's like this, just right there, you're good to go. You will not fail. Give it a twist. Put your elbow and your forearm down. Okay? Plant your needle. Give it a little tug. Put your index finger in there. Give it a little pull. Find your contour and twist it. Pull it towards you, the whole piece. And keep that 1/2 inch on the out. Now, I'm going to give it a back and to sink it. Now, what do we got? That's what we got. That's what we were looking for. And then when you come the other way, make sure it's just flat in front of you. Don't worry about all of this. But just make sure you adjust as you go. Flat, flat, just in your area. And you'll be fine. You know, you're working these 3 fingers and you're pushing. And constantly looking and stopping. Go 4 or 5 inches. You don't got to go 12 inches. Stop, adjust, look. Make sure nothing's going to hinder you. Look at that. We lay that over flat. Look at that. That's not my way. That's not on my lap. This is over here. Okay, or some people like me, myself, I like to put it around my neck. Okay, plant your needle before you ever walk away from your machine. All right, so, see that? That dives. That's why we turn the whole piece. So the way it's sewn, it naturally wants to dive over the edge of the seat. See that? See how it sits on its own? That's how you do it. If you do it any other way, it's going to curve up or it's going to buckle some weird way. I promise I know what I'm doing. And all these, when it's laying here like this, you're thinking, oh my God, it's not. No, you're going to tug it. And that's another lesson. When we upholster. Upholstery, 90% of it is prep. Before you ever upholster anything, you're going to go through a mountain of work before you ever start doing anything. So I'm Colt from Spit and Tax Upholstery. You get the gist of what I'm talking about. I'll be back at you. We got another fist fight coming. So I'll see you around like a donut. Hup, hup. Merry Christmas.